Hello, everybody. I'm Jennifer Bloom, host of Soul Wisdom Abundance, Create Wealth Through Spiritual Health. As always, I am truly honored and delighted that you are choosing to spend your time here learning all about how to do money in a new way. And I'm really thrilled about where our conversation gets to go today because we've got my guest here, Jenny Smith, who I'm going to introduce in a moment. But she is going to give us the down and dirty on creating a new money relationship. And it's really going to be a great conversation. But before we dive in there, I would be remiss if I didn't do a little bit of chatting about kind of where we are as a country. And Jenny and I's goal for today is to have a lot of fun. And I'm going to take a detour for 2 seconds because I think it's relevant for what we're going to talk about. Um, as we're having our conversation today, we're a day out of the U.S. elections, and these show airs in a couple of days, and we may or may not know the results, and that's okay. Where democracy is working and all of that. I have a lot of emotions. I have a lot of opinions about what's going on, and that isn't particularly relevant to our conversation today. But there's one topic that I really think is important to note, and the thing that really bothers me, that really sickens me, is that it feels like there's just one more piece of evidence of how much systemic racism and the notion of profit over people continues to be relevant in our world. And it just blows me away that's something that in this day and age that is continuing to happen. And I know there are a lot of people on this planet who could have told me that, but again, it's really become very glaringly obvious. And one of the players in both of those is money, right? Money. We've given so much money, so much power, excuse me, to money, that it really keeps a lot of these other forces in action. We've been taught that money is limited. We've been taught that we have to grab and grab and grab so that we don't end up without money. We've been taught so many things that are in error about money, and that continues to create other issues. As a collective here in the country, we have a lot of money pain. We have a lot of money wounds. And when we make choices out of those wounds and out of that pain, we end up with more pain and wounding. And when you stop to think about it, it can really feel like an unsolvable knot of pain. And I got myself deep in the middle of that knot of pain. And then I got myself out of it because I know that there's something we can do about it. As individuals, there is something that we can do. And that is to remember and relearn that we have our own soul money relationship. And when we know how to work with that relationship, it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing, because we have access to the resources we need to create the life that we want to have, whatever that looks like. And that's at an individual level. And when we are working within this soul money relationship, we are working at the level of soul. And when we do that, we know that we get to expand as ourselves and with other people. And it becomes a much more heart-based, freedom-based way to live. And so that is truly the nature of the work that I bring to this world and the reason for this podcast. Now, to come back full circle, the question becomes, how do I do that? How do I create my own soul money relationship? And I just couldn't be happier that Jenny Smith is with us today. She is going to be incredibly brave and authentic and vulnerable. And I'm just delighted that you are here, Jenny. I'm just welcome.
Thank you so much. It really is an honor. It really is. I listen to a lot of podcasts and I hear a lot of people go, "Oh, yes, I'm so glad to be here. I'm so honored." And maybe some of them mean that and maybe some of them don't. But I genuinely mean it from my toes.
Oh, well, that's good. Well, we are going to have some fun today. So let me tell people a little bit about you. You and I have known each other for going on 6, maybe 7 years, and
Yes.
it's been like watching the proverbial caterpillar into a butterfly, truly, And so you are an animal communicator. That's not always where you've been, but you've got this beautiful body of work. And from what I understand, your specialty is working with animals who are in spirit and animal soul contracts. And I've had a little bit of taste of your work. You've had a chance to work with a couple of my animals, and that's been a delight. So I know that it has taken, it's been a journey to get to where you are today, and that is what we are here to talk about. So again, welcome. And let's start. Actually, I want to dive in first to the work that you're doing right now. I'm really curious to hear more about the world of animal communication and what that means, and what it is that you love doing.
Well, again, it's a journey. I really feel like I'm on a hero's journey.
Yeah.
I mean, it has been what a wild ride. Um, and to me, animal communication really is the vehicle. I really believe that the universe chose for me to facilitate my self growth.
Mhm.
Um, it's I've loved animals my whole life, and it was just the perfect vehicle to get into finding out who I was through animal communication. And I actually specialize in death and dying, which I think a lot of people would go, "Oh my God, that's such a heavy subject. How can you do that?" And I feel divinely called to hold space for people who are in grief over their animals that have passed, because um, I think our society right now doesn't give a lot of space, a lot of validation for, "Oh, well, it was just a dog," or "Why haven't you gotten over that?" I mean, they do that with humans, but with animals, it's even harder. And so I think people don't feel free to be able to grieve for this wonderful relationship that they've had. And for a lot of us, those are our children. Those of us that don't have actual children. um, it's a way of expressing love and feeling love where we don't necessarily feel safe to do that with people. And so I just and really, this journey, I've been on this journey for 15 years, and it has changed. And I have learned so much about myself, and I have struggled so much because like we'll probably talk about, I came from a very left brain upbringing. And now I didn't just choose to go. I retired 4 years ago as a legal secretary, but I didn't choose to go from being a legal secretary to maybe being an accountant. I chose to go from left brain all the way 180 degrees to right brain, what my ego calls woo woo. And I mean, I really had a painful journey of learning to believe that, um, the gifts that I have of compassion and empathy and holding space for people are valid. Because when I was growing up, the message I got was those are not valid. Nobody wants to hear about that. So I just kept those covered. And this journey has taught me how to uncover, what I came into life to be.
Yeah. Well, you know what? And I think that that's one of the reasons why I'm so glad you're getting a chance to tell your story today, because when we think about creating money, it feels like it's very much, oh, it's dollars and cents, it's bank account and all of that. But truly for you, the biggest barrier to allowing money to flow was being able to give yourself permission to shine. Right? You,
Absolutely.
you being able to be out in that spotlight and being able to step up and say, "Hey, I have gifts." And B, they're relevant, and C, the world wants them, and D, I'll get paid for them. Right? So let's chat a little bit about this idea about the permission to shine. And what would you say? Um, I would imagine, I know that there are several reasons, but what would you say the biggest obstacle was for you, uh, in order that kept you from being able to really embrace those gifts? You spoke a little bit about family, but what other pieces are part of the puzzle here?
Well, just to give you a kind of a brief story, I read this beautiful story about the Golden Buddha, and there's a Golden Buddha. I think it's in Thailand. That the monks would is this beautiful Golden Buddha, huge statue, and the monks were in charge of protecting this solid gold statue. And they heard that if foreign invaders were going to come in and steal it, so they covered it with mud. And so when the people came in, they saw this, muddy lump, and they thought, well, it's not valuable, so we're just going to pass it by. But everybody forgot that it had gotten covered with mud, and nobody paid. And one day, a young man was sitting underneath it, and something fell and hit him, and he looked and he saw that a chunk of the mud had fallen, and he saw this light shining through. And so he started to pick it, and he realized, oh my God, there's this beautiful golden statue inside.
Mm,
That's my story. So the barriers, I would say, have been all the layers of mud that society has put on me, that I just unconsciously said, oh, well, that's the way it is, and I accept it. And I went through my whole life saying, believing that, women don't have anything special to say. We're not that important. I got a message from my family that men don't like intelligent women. So I
mm,
covered that with mud. People don't like sensitive, caring people. So I covered that with mud. um, I was always told my whole life, you're too sensitive, you feel too much. And I said, I interpreted that as, oh, that must be something wrong with me. So I covered that with mud. I grew up in the military and the army, and then, I joined the Navy for 4 years, and then I became a legal secretary. So my whole life has been in a patriarchy of people giving me the continuing message of nobody wants to hear you, nobody wants to hear how sensitive you are. And it took a long, long time, even though the universe kept showing me evidence of, yes, you are, yes, you have this beautiful statue inside of you. I kept saying, no, 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 because everyone around me has told me that I don't. And obviously they must be right. Um,
So what were the first few hints that you got that that golden statue was underneath?
oh my goodness. Well, I think all along, the fact that I love animals so much,
Mhm,
so much. I can't even explain how much I love animals. And the animals gave me the message that was so opposite to the way I grew up. The animals just loved me for who I was. They didn't judge me. They didn't say, "Oh, how come you came home late?" or, "How come you're wearing that dress? Why are you going out looking like that?" And so slowly, slowly, I would start to go, "Huh, how come they look at me a different way than society does?" And then the more and more I got into animal communication, and the more I stepped out of my comfort zone and tried things that were really scary, like, people are going to say, you're talking to animals, that's crazy. And I
mhm.
just thought, I don't care, I just have this
Yeah.
desire inside of me to do it. And so the more that I did that, and the more feedback that I got from people that said, wow, yeah, you really got my dog. Wow, you really connected. I didn't think you would. And I'm thinking, I didn't think I would either. You know, I'm as surprised as you are. But I got more and more evidence of, yes, you are on the right path. And then it even morphed into stepping into the death and dying. And so the more that the statue inside got revealed, the calmer I felt inside,
Yeah.
the more peace I had. And the more I started questioning the voices in my head from society of, what you do doesn't matter, I felt peace. And so I've learned to listen to that peacefulness in my body.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I think that one of the important tools, along any journey, is really being able to hear what you're feeling and truly honor it. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And I have to say, people have a lot of things to say about COVID, but to me, 2020, with all of its talk about a roller coaster ride, it has been one of the biggest gifts in my life because it allowed me the stillness to listen to me, to listen to what my heart was saying, what my soul was saying, without all the busyness of I got to get to work, I got to make money, I gotta.
Yeah.
It allowed me time to go, how come I'm feeling the way I'm feeling, and to allow the space to explore that and get curious about that. And I think that alone is what has just catapulted me in this year to really growing.
Yeah, and one of the things, as you know, that I teach is that it's really important to, before we step into the doing, and there's always action that's going to be involved in making money with whatever that is that we're doing. But the first part of the before we even step into that doing is being. And being, right, is all about getting into an aligned state. I say with the divine, and you can use whatever word that you want, but that really allows you to be present to whatever is going on inside, and also then to be able to listen to what the divine might have to share with you.
Absolutely. Without the being, I wouldn't know who I was. I wouldn't. It took being still and listening to all the emotions that I was feeling, fear and anger, and all the emotions that I was not allowed to feel as a child, and they frightened me. So it's like, well, what do I do with all these feelings? They're still happening, whether they people tell me I'm allowed to or not. They're still happening. So, how do I sit with those and explore them? Find out, number one, they're not going to kill me. Number two, they will pass. But I had to really take a look at all those old beliefs that I was brought up with, and really look at them and say, are those really true? Will my feelings kill me? No, they won't. Is it okay if am an emotional person? Yes, it is. But I have to say, for all the decades and decades of getting the message that no, it wasn't, that doesn't just change overnight. That takes being still and listening and being curious and saying. So, what I've learned now is, instead of when a feeling hits me, instead of going, oh my God, I must have done something wrong, I'm a bad person for feeling this, I say, what are you here to teach me? And
Mm.
that changed everything in my life. Is, what are you here to teach me? Because every single thing that I feel is here to teach me something, and that's how I grow, is to learn from them, not to be afraid of them.
Oh, beautifully said. Beautifully said. I think that, there's a sort of a line to walk here as we're having this conversation, because I think that when we want to change something in our lives, a lot of us, and I raise my hand for this, I want it to happen like this, just do it, get it done, get it done, get it done. And yet, some of this is really about showing up and doing your work, right? Like
Absolutely.
we can't, and I don't want to make it sound hard or painful, or like you're never going to really get there without all of this extra pain and suffering. And yet there is time of discomfort, and there's sometimes time that has to evolve as you move through some of the old beliefs and and some of those emotions.
Yes. I think as a society, at least in my growing up years, is that no one taught me how to feel my emotions. No one taught me how to navigate them. The message was always get rid of it as soon as possible. So either get rid of it by taking a pill, or get rid of it by drinking, which is what I did, or get rid of it by working too much, or shopping online, but at all costs shut the emotion down. And I really believe, and I've told people that I love, the feelings will drive the bus, and they will drive it off the cliff if you're
Yeah,
not careful.
it's so
Right.
true. Yeah,
So
yeah.
you have to really understand that you can try and push the feelings down, but they won't go away, and they will manifest it, for me, they manifested in my body, and all my joints, like all the warranties on my joints went out. And I had 5 operations in 7 years because
Mm.
my body kept saying, "You're not paying attention." And I'm going, "I don't know what you're talking about. I have work to do." And then they said, "Okay, that's it. We're taking over." And that's what started me on the journey of starting to listen to my body. But that message of feeling should be avoided at all costs, we need the opposite of that. We need to teach people, how can you learn to be friends with your feelings? How can you learn that they really do have something to teach you?
Yeah, I think that, there's so many ways that we learn. We learn through our bodies. We learn through money. Money is a phenomenal teacher for us. And when we ignore what what the situations are trying to share with us, right? When we ignore the pain that's coming through the body, or the pain that's coming through our mind, or the pain that's coming through our bank account, it's just going to get bigger and bigger. We have the opportunity, we can't ignore it, but when we begin, and you said this earlier, right? When we begin to understand that those feelings, those situations are here to show us something, to help us say, ooh, they're a barometer, right? Your feelings are really the barometer to let you know what's happening and going on. And they are incredibly powerful. And in terms of the woo woo, as you said, those feelings are our frequency. It's how we share what we want with the universe. So until we begin to understand that those emotions are telling us something, we can't really communicate with the universe.
Yeah, and I believe everything's about relationships. So I'm learning how to have a healthy relationship with myself. I'm learning through you how to have a healthy relationship with money, and I never even knew that you were supposed to have a relationship with money. You know, I'm learning how to have a relationship with my feelings. I'm learning how to have relationships with people. And these were things I was never taught. You know, and I think, I mean, if my had one wish for the world is, could we sort of change our focus on not so much reading, writing, arithmetic, which is really wonderful, but teach people life skills. Because what happens is they get out of school and then life just smacks them in the face and they go, "Oh my God, what am I do? I don't have the tools to handle it." And I certainly didn't. You know, this journey has been about, how do I have the tools to navigate life with joy, with peace, you know, and when tough things happen, how do I navigate those things? But if we don't have the tools, it won't work. So I think I think that's what, and me, I try and share. We have a saying in Alcoholics Anonymous: we share our experience, strength, and hope. And I
Mhm.
think that's what I want to be, is to share with people, yes, it's tough right now, and this is what happened with me, and you know, probably we have a lot of the same stories, but this is how I turned it around. And there is hope, because I mean, even in right now in the United States, I think there's hope, and I think sometimes people have forgotten that. You know, there is a solution, there is a way to share with each other that, yes, let's lift each other up, let's do this together. We can't do this by ourselves.
Yeah. So yes, absolutely, absolutely true. So let's dive in a little bit more to the actual money story here, the money relationship. Now that you are aware that there is a relationship with money, which I didn't know either, right? This is something that evolved for me in my own work, and it's like, oh, it's a relationship. Money isn't just transactional. It's not just money in, money out. It's this whole relationship. So, how would you, without sounding like a school marm here, how would you define the money relationship? What does that mean to you?
When I started taking, when I first realized, oh, it's a relationship, then I thought, well, if money was a friend of mine, how have I been treating this friend? Oh my God, not nicely at
Yeah,
all.
right.
Not nicely. I was afraid of it. or I would bully it. Why aren't you here? What's wrong with you? Um, when I looked at it in terms of a relationship, that changed everything. It's sort of like, well, okay, how am I going to show up in this relationship, and how would I like to be treated? So then I started treating money the same way, with respect. I pay my bills on time. I don't bully it. I don't say, "What's wrong with you? Where are you?" I say, I'd love to see you. I'd love you to come over for tea. But if you're not here, I trust that you will show up again. And it really did. It was a game changer for me, because I never thought about, well, how am I treating money, not just how is money treating me.
Right. There's a very interesting dynamic between money and power. And we've been taught that we have to get money under control, right? And again, like I said at the beginning, we've got to get out there and we got to grab it. And that's just not a nice way to be in relationship. Nobody wants to be in relationship with somebody who's trying to have power over them, right? That's old school and it doesn't feel very good. And so right when we learn that we're in relationship with money, there's a lot of light bulbs that can go off, like, oh, if my best friend was around and I didn't trust her or him, how long would that relationship really last?
Exactly.
If I was yelling at them about why didn't they do more for me, that relationship isn't going to last very long. And so it really creates a new basis of understanding how to feel and relate with money. Would you agree?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I have to say, since retiring from a lifelong of getting a steady paycheck to becoming an entrepreneur, that has been a journey in itself. I really had to take a look at, money, and really practice trust. you know um, do I trust that as long as I do what I do? And I had to really relearn what doing what I'm supposed to do meant too, because I come from the school of, you have to work really, really, really hard to be able to earn it. um, to can I trust that even when I'm still and listening to myself and listening to my heart, that money will still show up. So you know it it again, it is that relationship of love and trust. And why would I assume that money's going to screw me over? It's like, you and I are friends. Why would I automatically assume that you're going to hurt me or do bad to me? But that was my experience growing up. So I had to relearn what trust was.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So I've got one more question before we take a quick break. So what is the role for you in this relationship of divinity? Because we've been talking about money, we've been talking about your relationship with yourself. Where does the divine come in for you?
That again has has been a journey. I would have to say, in all of my growing and changing recently, I have had to learn how to reframe things that I've believed. I have had to learn how to reframe words, because there have been certain words that have been very triggering for me.
Yeah.
So, I say the universe. I say the universe and divine. I use spirit. Um, it's anything that's bigger than me. In AA, we say higher power. But I had to develop this concept of, there is something greater than I am, that has my best interest at heart, that loves me beyond measure, and is not going to pull the rug out from under me, and is going to, even, help me learn the lessons that I came here to learn. So that relationship has been, a dance of going back to the old teachings of the, God is this great, you know, fatherly figure that's going to punish you. Well, why would I turn my life over to something like that?
Exactly.
So I
Right.
had to I had to reframe, what what would I like my higher power, or this great, universe, what would I like that to be? And so I created again a new relationship with the divine. one of loving, one of somebody who's going to take care of me. And again, unlearning messages I got from my past about you have to like do certain things or you will be punished or you won't get what you want, to that relationship of trust.
And I think it's really interesting too. We spent a lot of time talking about feelings and emotions. And I think one of the feelings that we get to really lean into here is what feels true and what feels false, right? And to really be able to generate that internal gyroscope, so to speak, of what truth is for us, because we have been taught so many different things, and we've just sort of like, okay, pack the mud on, as you said, just pack it on. And it isn't necessarily true. And we each get to decide for ourselves what's true and what's not. And if we have the ability to listen and feel our emotions and feel our feelings, that's another thing that comes along for the ride, meaning we know what's true for us and what we want to shed. The shedding part isn't always lickety split, but we do know what we want to shed.
Absolutely. It's like, do those old stories work for me right now? And if the answer is no, then let them go and find a better way. Because I really believe all of us are here to feel good. We're not here to feel pain.
Right.
but, but somehow we've gotten the message that the only way that you're allowed to be here on earth is if you've suffered. And I don't believe that anymore.
Yeah, exactly. We are really here to, in my opinion, expand and expand through joy. Like, why can't we expand through joy and instead of suffering? Yes, you learn a lot when you put your hand on a really hot stove. Yeah, you learn really quickly you're not supposed to do that, but isn't there a better way to go through in learning our other life's lessons, right?
Yeah. And I
Oh,
and I ask myself, does this feel good or does it not feel good? I mean, I get really, really simple.
yeah.
I try to get out of my head and just say, am I feeling peace right now or am I feeling all turmoil?
Mm, yes, yes, and it can be as simple as that, right? And then what do I want to choose? What's the next thought that I want to have? Do I want to go towards peace or do I want to go towards turmoil?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Lots of really, really juicy things here. I'm so glad we're having this conversation. We are going to take a short break. And then when we come back, Jenny, I'd love for us to start to dive in a little bit into soul language and money language as a tool, as one of the tools I know that has helped you along on your journey.
Okay.
Yeah. So we will go ahead and take a short break. Keep listening. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Soul Wisdom Abundance. I'm your host, Jennifer Bloom, and I am talking with Jenny Smith today. And we've been talking all about, well, we've been talking about a lot of different things, but we've been really talking about the power of emotions. We've been talking about doing your work. We've been talking about really moving through old stories so that you have permission to shine. And before we dive into the next topic that I would love for us to talk about, Jenny, can you let people know how to find you and what you have available for them?
Absolutely. Again, on this journey of being an entrepreneur has been, oh, definitely a roller coaster ride. Um, I'm I had my website all built and then I got a cosmic detour.
I love how you describe that.
um, in fact, I pulled an oracle card this morning and it was the coyote and it said,
Oh,
just be happy for cosmic detours. And I thought, okay, all right. So,
yeah.
long story short, I'm having to rebuild my website and hopefully it will be ready when this program airs. But today you can find me on jennysarc.com and you can also email me at jsmith94591 at yahoo.com. So if for some reason Jenny's art doesn't work, just email me. And I'm offering a free one question reading for the first 10 callers, to just send me a picture of your pet and have a question that you want me to ask, and I will connect and, you know, type up a transcript and send you the report about this is what your beloved animal wants to tell you, or this is the answer to the question that you had, because they are they are just dying to talk to us. And I kind of look at myself as a translator.
Beautiful. And I have to say, I'm really going to encourage those of you who are pet parents. I don't like the word pet owner. I'm a pet parent. Reach out to Jenny. You don't even have to be having a hard time with your animal to get really good information back. As I mentioned, I've got this really beautiful Newfoundland Sadie, and Sadie had so much to share with us, and it's really making a difference. And I can tell that my relationship with her is changing, and her expression of her beingness is shifting. So I want to say thank you for that, and really truly encourage people to reach out. It's such a gift. It's such a gift to hear from our animals. Okay, so I appreciate your authenticity here. I really appreciate you showing up and saying, "Hey, it hasn't always been a piece of cake." But I do know that there are a lot of tools that you have used in your journey as you've allowed yourself to shine in who you are. I'm curious about your journey with soul language and the money soul languages, and to talk a little bit about that, and how that has supported you. And if you wouldn't mind, if you would share what your languages are. So why don't we start with the personal languages? And if you would just share the languages, and then let us know how that has supported you.
Okay. I hope I remember all of them because I've had several languages done.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
and the other thing that I have to say with all my languages is um, I I have been having I expressed before, a difficult time with talking to the divine, because the divine for me felt so out of reach that I didn't feel like I had a close enough relationship that I could just talk like I'm talking to you. So when I got my languages done, I decided to give them names, people names, so
Hmm.
that it felt like I was talking to a friend. And I look at my languages as they're sort of the close friends that I keep with me, that are a conduit to the divine. So the divine, I truly believe that, this higher intelligence, God, whatever you use, speaks to us through so many ways, through other people, through billboards, through songs. The messages get to us the way we need to hear them. And the languages have been a beautiful way for me to get messages from the universe. So my personal languages are matriarch, patriarch. So if you kind of think of queen and king, it translates into being a leader, which again was something I totally denied about myself. Oh, no, 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 I'm not that kind of a person. But it was like, well, I can't argue with that. I mean, that's what I got. So I need to get
Yeah.
curious about it, right? Why did I get matriarch, patriarch? So that has led me into, embracing my authenticity as being a leader, a benevolent leader, not a power over leader, which is what I struggled with.
Right.
The other language is deliberator, which means I take a long time to think about things. I take a long time to process information. I'm not a snap judgment type of a person. And again, I really judged myself for that, because people would say, well, make up your mind, make up your mind. And I couldn't understand why I couldn't make up my mind. When I learned about deliberator, I found out, well, you're not supposed to do it quickly. This is how
Yeah.
you show up in the world. You take a lot of time to think about it, and once you think about it, then you can come up with the right words to say. And the third one is transformer, which I have to say I probably love more than any of them, because transformer gives me the ability to transform thoughts, transform ideas, transform situations, to reframe them for people and myself, to go, huh, you're looking at it this way, but what if you looked at it just a little bit differently? And that ability to say, what if you looked at it a little differently, has been a game changer for me. And it has been a game changer for the people that I talk with. Because sometimes when we're in fear, all we can do is get laser focused on what you're afraid of. you don't have the ability to expand your focus and say, well, look at, you've got 25 possibilities out here. I don't
Yeah.
see any of them. I only see the one I'm afraid of. So my gift is to be able to show people, I see 25 possibilities for you. Why don't we take a look at some of those? And then they go, "Oh my God, I never thought of it that way." And
Right.
and I especially do that with people and their pets. Is like, "Huh, this is what your dog is telling me." And they'll go, "Huh, I never thought of it that way." And it just opens up your whole world to possibilities
Mhm.
and, to solutions. Instead of living in fear, you live in solutions, and you live in, and you find you do have power, you have choice. um the other, the my money languages, if
Wait,
I
well,
can
I just want
remember.
to. I want to pause. Yeah,
Oh,
I'll
sorry.
pause. Oh, no, no, that's fine. I just want to pause and just comment on on you. There was so much that you said here that it was so valuable, and I think that one of the reasons why I love soul languages so much is because it really does give us permission to be who we are. And what you said about deliberator, and as a reminder for those of you who are listening who may not understand, may not know about soul languages yet, we have there's 107 different languages according to this paradigm, and we come with three languages that are our personal soul, that reflect our personal soul. And I think that when we know what those are and we look at those and you go, oh, I mean, I know for me it was such a relief. And I'm one of my languages is pioneer, and so it's like, oh, that's why I always want to do some new things. It's not a flaw that I'm moving from place to place or career to career. That's who I am. And as soon as you give yourself permission to be who you are, whoa, the world opens up. So, and that's a really important aspect of our money relationship, even before we get to the money languages, because you as a deliberator, if you try to speed up your money decisions, it's not going to end well, right?
Exactly. And I would, tell the audience that, this may sound foreign to you because you've never heard of soul languages before, but this just runs along the same paradigm as the Enneagram or the Myers-Briggs test or any personality test that you take that sort of hone in on who you are, what your strengths are. And, I took a bunch of tests earlier in COVID before I built my website. And all of them said what I secretly knew was true about me.
Yeah.
But I was afraid to let anybody know because I was embarrassed, because the message in my life was nobody wants to see those things. You can't make money from those things. Those are girly, but my strengths are, you know, empathizer, coach, kindness, all of those things that the message in my life was, no, don't ever let anybody see you be kind. That's weak. That's my strength. That's who I am. So
Exactly.
that goes back to that permission to shine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those tests and the soul languages, just one right after the other, reiterated, this is who you are at your core, in your heart, in your soul. And again, I was like you, I couldn't believe, I just took a sigh of relief of, oh my God, thank God, now I can just be who I am. I don't have to be like anybody else. I don't have to be ashamed of what everybody told me was wrong with me. There is nothing wrong with me. the,
No.
the, these things inside of you are just precious. They're beautiful. And when you can, give yourself permission to shine, let the mud fall off, and be that golden Buddha statue, it really, I can't even emphasize how much of a game changer it is.
Right, and if we think about it from the point of view of money, I mean, goes way beyond money here. But when we think about it from the through the lens of money and the relationship, one of the aspects of that money relationship is your relationship with yourself. And if you don't allow yourself permission to shine, if you don't let yourself be seen and heard, it is going to stop that flow of money. Right? So the more that we can know and accept and then radiate out about ourselves, the better position we're in to be able to allow money to come along in brand new ways, right? Because you don't have to know anything about yourself to do hard work. right? I mean, you just, not nose to the grindstone, go, 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 go. But if you want to create money in a brand new conscious way, this is such an important part. Okay, so let's bridge now then into your money languages. And again, for those listening, we have in this paradigm, anything you have a relationship with, whether that's with the divine, or whether that's with your business, or whether it's with money, or your, a love partner, a best friend, we brought energies in to support each of those relationships. And so we can identify the languages, those energies that are here to support us. So if you don't remember them right off the top of your head, I have them too. So,
Okay.
so
If I remember, it's Equalizer, Emerald, and Arc Builder.
you got it. Yep.
So Equalizer, again, I'm all about balance. I'm all about balance. It's I don't want to live in the extremes of anything. I don't want to live in the extreme of fear or the extreme of denial. I want to be in balance with it. So Equalizer teaches me how to have balance in my life. Emerald, so Emerald and Arc Builder, again, my favorites. Emerald, it gives me permission to shine, gives me permission to be brilliant, gives me, Emerald, and my name for Emerald is Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. And when I get scared, I just imagine Dorothy and I are sitting outside on a little park bench, and she grabs my hand and she goes, "It's okay. It's okay. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine." And that just calms me down instantly. I don't have to think about, oh, I've got to talk to the divine and I've got to. At the point when I'm in fear, I can't do that. But I can just think of Dorothy holding my hand and I'm fine. And then Ark Builder is just, of course, Noah's Ark, right?
Right,
I
right.
mean,
And Jenny's arc is just all
Jenny's Ark. I
it's just
mean,
really amazing.
it really, it's just like, the universe has just the most beautiful sense of humor. But for me, Ark Builder is I need certain structures in my life. It's just like it ties in with the deliberator. I need certain structures before I can go out and do what I'm supposed to do. I need to know that I have those in place. I'm safe. I'm not just willy nilly going, oh, let's just go start a business. No, no, let's go start another business. It's like, no, let's get this business established. Let's build the house, and that has really allowed me the safety to learn to be authentic because I have that foundation beneath me. And I
Mhm.
loved what you said about, any relationship that we have, we can find out the languages because, I had my personal languages, I had my money languages, and I also had my business languages done. And again, it was just more confirmation of
Right.
this is who you are.
Yeah.
And this is how it appears, in money, and this is how it appears in your business. And but they all have the same message. They all, it's just so interesting when you hear about other people's languages. You go, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Exactly, exactly. And it may be something that's diametrically opposed to yours, but
Yes.
you can feel it in them, right? Like that. And I use the word feel a lot. I'm a very kinesthetic person, but when if somebody tells you, oh, I'm a strategist, or oh, I'm an alchemist, or oh, whatever, I'm a lawmaker. Oh yeah, that I can really see how that works. And these are not meant to put us in boxes. It's not meant to say, oh, well, if you have this language, then you need to do this business, or if you have this language, you need to do this business. But rather to help us expand into exactly who we are, right?
Absolutely.
And then I like how you described how the languages are similar to something like the Enneagram or hand analysis, or right, any of these other ways that really help identify who you are. The one thing that I would add to that sets soul language aside, and this is one of the reasons why I love it, so I like to bring it up, is that these are actual languages you can speak to. These are parts of with the personal soul are parts of ourselves, and then the relationship languages are outside of us, but we can also connect with them. We can get answers. This is something we can tap into, and as you said, sit with sit with Emerald or Dorothy and calm that fear. We can tune in and say, okay, team, and that's how we talk about it in soul language, right? We have our teams of languages. What do you want me to know today? So how do you do with that communication? What have you found to be helpful about that aspect of the languages?
Um, it, for me, it's again how it's another vehicle for how I get information from the universe. Like
Yeah.
I have oracle cards on my phone. Most of them are animal oracle cards. But for me, it's a very quick way, especially if I'm in fear or doubt. It's a very quick way to tap into what's the message I'm supposed to be hearing right now. So um, the soul languages, again, it's because I feel that they're so personally connected with me, they're just friends that are around me all the time. I can just turn around to them and say, "What do I need to know right now?" Or "What am I supposed to be doing right now?" It's it shortens the gap between sometimes that I have between me and the universe, because the
Mm.
universe feels sometimes so far away that I feel disconnected. This is a constant connection with me that helps me get information.
And that information simply allows us to expand, right?
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Okay, so we have just a moment or two left. And before I say thank you and all of that, I want to ask if there's one last thing that you would like people to know. What's the one thing you want people to remember from the conversation today?
Is that I think feelings are more important than people realize, and that they're not something to be feared. There's something to that. Again, it's information. It's just information. It's not there to chastise you. It's not there to belittle you, um, like we've maybe done when we were growing up. It's information, and so just get curious about it. Just get curious when something happens. Go, huh? What's this trying to tell me? So I think if you can again have a relationship with your feelings, of if you can reframe what you think of as feelings, especially what we call bad feelings, if you can just say, okay, let's just sit down together, we don't even have to do anything, but I'm not going to kick you out of the family.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
We're all
exactly.
in this together, and you're here to teach me something.
Beautiful. Well, Jenny, that's such important wisdom, and I am just so honored that you were here today. I really truly appreciate you sharing your story and the ups and the downs and the honesty, being honest. That I we just that honesty, the authenticity of the actual story that we don't often get into. So thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just want to tell people, I think what's exciting about this conversation is I'm just a normal person. I'm not some six-figure businesswoman that you think I'll never be like that. I'm just like you,
Yeah,
and so if
exactly.
I can do this, you can do this.
And that's so true. And I see your brilliance. You're not just somebody, you are a brilliant woman. But I understand exactly what you're saying. All right, so thank you, and thank you to everyone for listening. If you want more information, you can always join me over at Soul Abundance, both on Instagram and over at Facebook. And we're here for Soul Wisdom Abundance the first and third Fridays of every month. Thank you for listening in, and until next time, prosperous blessings. We'll see you soon.